The white pearl on day 9 is associated with existential intelligence, the sensitivity and capacity to tackle deep questions about human existence makes them successful scientists, philosophers, and theologians. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined, said Henry David Thoreau. Avenir 2021 is organized with the vision to empower and facilitate students to navigate their future and make their dreams real. Programs like Avenir 2021 play an important role in guiding and shaping the future of the youth. It promises to bring the global student community under one canopy, where students receive coverage not only from the local Indian schools in the Sultanate of Oman, but from other school boards such as CBSE, ICSE, IGCSE, and IB, spanning across the Middle East and North Africa region and countries across Southeast Asia.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Avenir 2021, a global virtual career guidance program launched by Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir under the aegis of the Board of Directors of Indian Schools in Oman. On behalf of Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir, your hosts for this morning, Akshaya and Abbas of Class 12, take the proud privilege of expressing our profound gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said for the noble benevolence showered on the Indian community in the Sultanate of Oman.
It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Dr. Shivakumar Manikam, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, members of the various Board of Directors, CBSE officials, distinguished members of the Ministry of Education, Oman, and officials of the Indian Embassy, Sultanate of Oman. Mr. Alkesh Joshi, the Honorable President of the SMC, Indian School Al Wadi Al Kabir, presidents and members of the SMCs of all Indian schools in Oman and from other schools and boards across the globe, principals, teachers, parents, staff, and students of all the participating schools. Dear audience, it is our pleasure and privilege to have you all here with us on this journey of transforming your dreams into reality. Dear audience, you are requested to fill in the feedback form which will be posted in the description box towards the end of the session. Filling this form is necessary as it would fetch you a participation certificate. Participants are requested to post your queries and questions in the chat box that may be addressed by our esteemed speaker. Today, we are honored to have with us an eminent representative from Studyco. Studyco is a professional student recruitment and training company providing students and parents with current information about studies offered globally. Studyco services offer information about selected destinations to university, programs, admissions, accommodations, and student visas. Studyco represents more than 500 universities globally, as well as a number of leading English language centers, technical colleges, and schools in Australia, New Zealand, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Malaysia, as well as Europe, Asia, and South America. Now, I call upon our guest speakers for the session, the representative Mrs. Prerna Mala and Mr. Vijay Kumar from Studyco. Over to you, sir, for your presentation.
Hello. All right. Good morning, everyone. I guess it's almost evening here, but yeah, I heard good morning. So I mean, good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure where everyone is joining from. So greetings of the day to everyone from me. I hope everyone is doing well and super excited to learn more about studying in Australia. like he just mentioned, I am Prerna Malda. That was quite an introduction. Thank you so much, both of the hosts. I'm an education consultant and a PTE coach at Studyco. And years back, my own journey in Australia also started as an international student. So today, getting to be on the other side and getting to share some knowledge and guidance to, aspiring young enthusiasts from all around the world, I feel very, very honored for this opportunity. So thanks to Avenir, all the organizing teams. I see a lot of organizing members, so that's really good collaboration. So thanks to all the organizers for putting up so much effort and hard work into providing this amazing platform to thousands of students all around the world. So as I just mentioned, I was also an aspiring student with an Australian study dream. And now it has been a bit over 7 years since I first landed in Australia. And so far, what I can tell you from my experience is that moving to Australia for higher education is one of the best life decisions I've made so far. And apart from the very general reasons like a better quality of education, more facilities, higher quality of life, etc., I think in Australia, it is the very balanced lifestyle and the super multicultural community that will really, really make you feel home away from home. So, and it's actually really funny, but sometimes, like when you go to the city, sometimes you have to really try hard to spot non-Asian. So it is so multicultural here. And throughout your time in Australia, and especially mine as well, as an international student, you get exposed to so many different things. You get exposed to so many different type of experiences, and you learn so much in a very short period of time. And there's a lot of help. There's a lot of support available for international students to help them. And I think people might take a bit of time depending on their personal preference, but eventually I feel like it's very, very hard not to try and fall in love with Australia once you come here and spend a year or two. So the land down under actually is something, and that I can assure you. And I think recently throughout the pandemic, the government has proved that they do actually care about international students and temporary residents. They were, and still there are a lot of help available for international students here to help them. For example, during the pandemic, students working in healthcare and students who were working in frontline like supermarkets were allowed to work full-time. So normally as a student, you could only work 20 hours in 2 weeks. So the government did make some temporary changes wherever applicable to try and support international students and temporary residents at such a difficult time. It's been like almost 2 years. But we've gotten such great support payments from the government for losing jobs, losing work hours. And this is not just Australian citizens and permanent residents we're talking about. They were supporting students and also temporary residents with this money. So I personally have been really impressed with how this country has handled things so far in this pandemic, and managed to help thousands of internationals who are here, and they help them stay afloat during such a hard time as well. And I honestly feel very, very grateful and extremely privileged that I got to be in this country during such a hard time. So that was just to give you a very realistic experience of what's happening right now and how I'm feeling at the moment, being in this country and being an international. So I'm not a permanent resident yet. So this is very raw coming from a temporary resident story starting from international student. So anyway, now things are looking much, much better. And all of you must be very excited as borders are looking to open soon. So all of you need to prepare for your applications, apply for your visas, get ready to, get set and go after your educational dreams as soon as the borders open. So this is why we're doing this. So without further delay, let's get on it. So first of all, looking at the agenda. So first of all, we are going to take a look at what is GTE and why is it so important. Then I'll touch on the key factors regarding GTE assessment, what department looks at, and what are the key things you need to address in your statement. After that, we will also touch on how our team at Studyco can help you with that. And then in the end, Vijay, our special guest, registered migration agent, is going to cover the student visa process in much more detail. And in the end, we're going to have a Q&A session as well. So if you've got any questions, any type of question, feel free to note them down during the presentation. And in the end, we'll take them from you. So what is GTE? GTE is a like a buzzword. I think here as well, like everyone's like GTE, GTE. I hope it's in offshore as well. So what is GTE? You may have been hearing this acronym a lot, especially if you visited education and migration agents to apply for study to Australia. And yes, GTE is something that you definitely must be familiar with if you're applying for a student visa to Australia. So what is GTE? GTE simply stands for Genuine Temporary Entrant. The word itself is pretty self-explanatory, but still, it's basically a criteria you must meet to have your student visa granted. So GTE assessment is used by Department of Home Affairs. That's the department that processes all the visa applications of Australia. So it's used by the department to ensure that this program, the student visa program, is actually being used as intended. So the student visa program is there so that, you know, all international students can come to Australia and gain education. So GTE assessment ensures that this program is not being misused to further, you know, stay in Australia and then pave pathway to permanent residency. So one thing we must be very clear is whenever you're applying for a student visa, you are going there for a temporary purpose. So that is why GTE is there. It has temporary in the name itself. So genuine, you need to be a genuine student. Temporary entrant, you need to be entering Australia for a temporary period of time. So that's all it means, right? So for a student visa application to be successful, the applicant must prove two things. So the two things are very simple. One is you have to be a genuine student, which I know all of you are. And the next one is you have to be a genuine temporary entrant, which I just explained. So what they look at is like, you must be going to Australia with a genuine goal of getting your qualification that adds value to your current profile so that you'll go back to your home country and then maybe you'll proceed on with your career or whatever your plans are. So not just genuine student, but to get your visa granted, you also need to be a genuine temporary entrant. Why I'm stressing so much on temporary is that, like mentioned before, the GTE is used to take a decision to identify the students or the individuals who do not have the genuine intention to just study in Australia. So these are the people they're trying to filter out. So it is not just important to prove that you're a very good student, you're a genuine student, but it's also important to prove that you're going to be there for a just a temporary period of time. Maybe you'll go back after you complete your degree. So it's very important to stress on the fact that you are going to return to your home country. So an applicant who will meet the GTE criteria will have some circumstances that will demonstrate that he'll be coming to Australia to gain the education, but he will not utilize any other means to remain in Australia for more period of time after that, or even permanently. So simply an ideal student will have circumstances that can tell the department, and these circumstances could be anything. We will look at detail in the next slide, but could be anything that proves that you have very strong connection with your home country. Okay, so now why is it so important, this GTE? I think we've pretty much covered it, but why is it important is because it is one of the most common reasons why student visas get refused. So failure to meet the genuine temporary entrant requirement is like a reason the case officer will actually quote in the refusal letter. It is one of the most common reasons for visa refusals. Once you have met the basic requirements for student visa applications, such as your academic requirements, your financial requirement, your English test results, etc., the final test that you must pass is your GTE before you go to your medical and characters. So now you may be wondering, like, how do we fulfill this criteria? Okay, how do I prove to the department that I am going to go back? I love my family. I'm going to go back to my family. I have to take care of my business, my parents. So how do we address this? Or maybe, first of all, like, what does the department look at? What do we mean by circumstances? So these are some of the factors. So the department will look at all your circumstances, everything related to you from a bird's eye point of view, to assess and decide whether you're a genuine temporary entrant to Australia or not. Okay, so now what do they look at is, like I mentioned before, except for the generic things like academic, finances, and everything, you being able to pay your fees is there. But except for that, what else do they look at? So for example, one thing they might look at is, what is the value of the course you'll be studying? Is the course relevant to your previous education? Is it relevant to your country? Because if you're studying something that does not have a scope in your home country, that's not going to make sense, right? So you have to be very careful while you're picking your course. Are there good prospects of getting a good job in your home country after you complete that course here, after you get that Australian qualification? What's your plan after that? Are you going to get a job? Are you going to start a business? What is the expected salary? How much are you looking to earn? Like, you will have to quote the numbers as well. Okay, so they really go into details like that. Similarly, family ties, like, how is your family like? Do you live in a joint family? Is it a nuclear family? How many siblings you have? The more siblings you have, better actually for student visa. So the more ties that you have to your home country, could be family ties, could be community ties as well. Like, are you involved with the community? Maybe you play soccer from some social club. That is also a tie. So all those little tiny bits and pieces from your life, anything that proves your connection to your home country. They will look at your financial ties as well. For example, like, okay, maybe I'm the only child, so I inherit all the property of my family, so I have to go back and look after my family assets as well. So that is also a tie. That is a financial tie. So they will look at everything. They'll look at how connected you're with your family. Do you have financial ties? What's the situation like in your country? They'll even take a look at that. Is the environment good enough? Like, if it's not safe enough, the applicant might come to Australia and try and stay there. So all of these little factors play a very crucial role. And apart from these, they will also look at your immigration history, like if you've applied to another country before, if you had refusals, if you had grants, all of those history, literally everything that is connected with you, they will have a look at. So overall, as mentioned, the major things easy to keep in mind is like your financial ties, family ties, and then your future prospects, your career prospects. The more specific, the more detailed, the better. So basically what they want to see is your super strong connection to your home country. And why? Because we must prove that we're temporary entrants to Australia and we will return once we are done with our study. Now, how do we address these GTE factors or these criteria? So all these criteria we address in a separate statement, a separate document called Statement of Genuine Temporary Entrant Criterion, or simply it's called GTE Statement. It's very similar to your SOP for applying to universities. It's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that the GTE Statement, you'll be addressing it to the Department of Home Affairs, to your case officers, and you'll submit the statement to the department, while the SOP goes to your education provider. So the department will then read that statement where you will try and justify that you are a genuine temporary entrant, exactly how you would do in an SOP. So a couple of things you need to address in a GTE statement. First of all, a snapshot of you, very similar to your SOP, your background, could be your hobbies as well. What type of person are you? A very brief background, your family. After that, obviously your academic background, your study background. After that, these are the more important things that a lot of students miss. So reasons for not studying in home country. So it is not just enough to say why you're coming to Australia. First of all, you also need to say, why aren't you staying back in your home country? Because like, why are you leaving your family? Why are you spending so much money and going, so far away, right? So you need to list out reasons. Maybe it's the quality of education. I don't know. There could be various reasons. So you need to give exact reasons. Why did you not study in your home country? And then after that, only you need to describe now, why did you pick Australia over other countries? Because there's so many countries all around the world. It's not just enough to say about Australia. So you need to show a bit of comparison as well. You need to show that you did some research. Okay, maybe you compared UK, USA, Australia, and you were impressed by Australia. So after that, more details about the education providers that you looked at, the research that you did, why you're picking this university, why you're going to this campus and not that campus. So all the details about how you pick the education provider. After that, also need to give further details about the course. So why did you pick that course? How is it related? What is your plan in the future? How are you going to connect the dots? And how are the units or the lessons in the course going to connect with your career plan? All of those details. And not to forget, very important, financial details, who's going to fund your education and how. And in the end, you re-highlight all the strong ties that you have to your home country, like we just mentioned about family, financials, strong future prospects. Okay, and then your ties will be very different based on your circumstances, and also based on, you know, what culture you come from. For example, usually in like Nepalese or Indian cultures, like for male applicants, they usually say like in our culture, like the son takes care of the family assets, or the son is responsible to take care of the parents. So those are some cultural things that you can write as well, as long as they're true. Okay, so so you have to be very specific and very honest. The more specific you are, the better, because eventually, like it is your story, right? So once you, if you want a visa grant, so you must make sure that you're investing as much time and effort in your GTE statement as much are you doing with all the other documentation and everything, because all the other documentation and all the hard work that you do is going to go to waste if you're not careful about this GTE statement. It's just going to be a couple of pages, but this is like the deciding factor for your student visa. So it might seem like a bit too much work, but no education agent or no migration agent is going to know your circumstances as well as you. So as a student, it is your responsibility that you're well informed, and then you give as much details, as much relevant details and documents as possible to your agent and in the statement, because a migration agent can only help you like as much as you help them with the details. So you actually have to help us help you. And as you may have realized by now, since you need to prove that you're a genuine student, the very first crucial step is making the right choice, of course. And as an ideal student visa applicant, your sole purpose must be to gain a qualification here, to build a better future for yourself and your family back home. So that is what you need to keep in mind whenever you're picking your course. And at Studyco, we've got an initial GT assessment process during the education consultation process that ensures that while you move towards picking your course, you're also heading in the right direction from the migration point of view. So all our education agents are peer certified, they're qualified education consultants, and we take all your aspects into consideration while advising you those courses, while telling you like which one would be the most appropriate given not just your educational background, but other personal circumstances as well. And side by side, we'll ensure that you are checking off all those GT concerns as we proceed. So at Studyco, not just in-depth guidance about your course, what you're going to get is a very holistic service where all aspects are taken care of, and you can just sit back, assured that your student course application and your visa application covers everything in the right way that a successful visa grant requires. All right, so that's it from me for GTE. I hope I didn't take that much time. And now to touch on student visa process in depth, I would like to hand over to Vijay, our registered migration agent.
Thank you, Prerna. I hope everyone can hear me. And thank you to Studyco Oman. I'm Vijay, I'm a registered migration agent, and I'm based in Melbourne. So good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Prerna has really went in very details about GTE, which is really good. I would also add a few things later on. Before that, let me talk about a student visa process. Okay, so obviously, if you want to come to Australia to study, you got to have a visa, and you got to have a student visa to study. Sometime if you have a visitor visa, you can come to visit Australia, but you can only be allowed to study for 3 months, not more than that. So if you're going to study for a longer period, which more than 3 months, obviously we have to get a student visa, and each visa has a number we call it subclass. Like, for example, for a student visa, it's called subclass 500. Okay. Before going into the visa, the first thing you have to understand and you have to ask yourself, why do you want to go to Australia to study? Okay. Everyone has, as a migration agent, and also previously being an education consultant, being in this industry, I have seen people from different country has a different motive to come to Australia. So first of all, you have to be very clear, why do you want to come to Australia? Now, it, as I said, different person has a different motive, but yours motive, if you're coming to study, your motive should be study, nothing else. Now, Prerna did talk about GTE, genuine temporary entrant criteria, and that's the one reason I said your first motive has to be a study. Now, let's say you have completed year 12 or bachelor or degree, then you need to pick a course. So one thing always you might have in mind, what course to study, what to choose. You don't know, you go to the education consultant and then you ask this question. And what I have seen in many of them, they go and their first question they ask, what course should I do that it can get me a permanent residency, PR? I'm not saying 100% student would be in that category and be asking this question, but there are majority. Okay. Now, my answer to this is, do not come thinking about the course that you are going to do is going to get you a PR. Your priority should be, what is you going to achieve after doing that course? How that course is going to help you get a better job? If you have that path clear in your mind, I can assure you, I cannot guarantee, but then you have a better chance to have a permanent residency as well. It has changed. What used to be 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, getting a permanent residency in Australia was a lot easier than today. However, it is possible, and it is possible today, and it will be tomorrow as well, as long as you have a clear set of mind exactly what you want to do. So when it comes to what course to study, you got to think about what you want to become one day. What's your career goal? That's what you choose. Australia is the only country that a student wants to come or want to live. There are other opportunity also. A lot of colleagues I have seen, they have been here 15 years. They went back to their home country, and they're doing pretty well. So career is the very important part. Okay. Now, study, the courses, it is divided into two parts. One is called vocational and one is higher studies. Vocational is basically you are studying till diploma, or in simple term we can say trade courses. For example, you want to become a chef, you want to become a motor mechanic, you want to become electrician. I mean, certain courses are allowed for international students, but not all trade courses. So either you can go into the vocational, or you can choose to go to higher study, which is a degree, bachelor degree, master degree, PhD, and things like that. If students from, let's say from India or Asian country, what we have seen, if you are going to higher studies, chances of getting visa is a bit higher. That is the fact. But I'm not saying that or advocating that coming for trade courses is not wise. It's a good choice to come as well, because you get very hands-on experience. It's not about only the theory. If you're studying in a vocational courses, if you're studying in TAFE, you will have a lot of experience. You will not only studying in the book, you will also get to practice that. Okay. Same thing if you coming for higher studies, so obviously you can choose the course that you want, something that you like, something that you can make future out of it. The reason why I say that, because let's say you think, okay, being an accountant will bring you get you a permanent residency. Yes, it is possible. Yeah, it's true. But what if you have come to study after 2 years, the rules changes? The accountant is no longer on the list of the skill list. That means what you have studied, what you have paid the money, it's all gone. Then you will start to look for some other courses that are going to get you a permanent residency. So do not have a set mind that I'm going to do the course because I want, this is going to get me a permanent residency. So try to move away from that. Instead, focus on the career, and that will eventually will get you the permanent residency also. Now, in briefly, what I would say is, if you choosing a STEM courses, which is science related courses, um, technology related courses like IT, engineering, health and medicines, mathematics. These are the courses, we call them the STEMs. It's pretty high in demand. The demand is quite there, and it will be there. If it is a trade courses, being a chef, motor mechanic, it's always been in demand, and it will be there. So those are the courses that you can choose. You have to also remember one thing is, you have to choose a course that you have done in your home country, one above. For example, if you have just completed year 12, you can come to foundation course, or you can come to vocational course. You can go to the higher studies, bachelor degrees and all. But if you have completed bachelor degree, then you should opt for higher studies, which is a master course. If you have done the master course, you can do another master, or try to, if you can find a course that uh, get you a specialization that you can do, or you can go for higher, maybe doctoral. Now, you may have a certain things in mind. Okay, while studying, am I allowed to work? Yes, you are allowed to work. You can work 20 hours per week, or 40 hours fortnight. But during the schooling session, like if it is a course going on, that means that's the only you can work. But if you are a PhD student, there is no restrictions on that. If you are studying master, then if you have a dependent, like let's say for example your husband or your wife, um, one person is allowed to work. Your dependent is allowed to work full time, which is 40 hours per week. There is no limitations. You can work if you want to work. You can work more. Now, with the student visa, apart from the GT, you got to also have financials, and also the English requirement that you have to meet. In certain circumstances, it is not required. It depends. I don't want to go into too much details, because it might confuse you. It's basically the country and the school or the university has been given a level, level 1, level 2, level 3. So country level 1, country level 2, country level 3, and the school level 1, 2, 3. School level 1, 2, 3, it doesn't represent the quality. What does it is? It's different set of um, policy that the Australian government came out with. So if you hear the level 1 university or level 1 school or college, it doesn't mean nothing to do with the quality. Okay, so if but then if it is about the country, level 1 country, level 2 country, level 3 country, basically it's a risk factor. The risk factor, which is India, I believe, is in level 3 country. If I say other countries such as UK, USA, Singapore, Japan, they are in level 1. I think Thailand is, I think you was in level 2, then went to 3. I think it might have come back to level 2. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so if there is a match of level to level, level 1 to level 1, or level 3, which is India to level 1 school, then you do not require to provide evidence of English and financials. However, the English is required in order to get the admission in the university. So if the university says you have met the requirement for English, you do not need to provide a English proficiency certificate such as IELTS, or PTE, or TOEFL. You don't have to provide that certificate as long as the university, the school confirms that you have met the requirement for them. They may have a different ways of testing it. Sometimes they have internal testing. If you satisfy that they are fine with that. Otherwise, you have to do the IELTS or PTE, and then you go with that. Okay. With the financials, again, if the match is between level 3 country, let's say India and level 1, then you do not require to have the financials evidence. Okay, that doesn't mean that you don't have to have money. You do have to have money to study, but the immigration does not ask you to provide the evidence. They won't ask you to provide bank statement. They don't ask you to provide fixed deposit, or whichever way you are showing your financials. Right now, we always get a question about, okay, if the immigration is not asking for financials, can we put whatever amount in the application form? Because in the application form, when you do a Subclass 500 visa, a student visa, they do ask for how much money do you have in your account and who is supporting. Okay, so that means, and where that money is kept. So let's say you're from India, you have your parents has a couple of banks, and then you have equivalent, let's say $50,000. Yeah. So in the application form, you have to say $50,000 in XYZ bank, and supported by the parents. Okay, so that's how you have to prove the financials. But sometimes we get a question like, okay, I don't have money. Can I put, instead, it requires 60,000, I have only 30,000. Can I put $60,000, okay, in the application form? That's a lie, that's a lie. Why? What the immigration reserves the right to ask if they have a doubt that you may have difficulties in meeting financials, even if it is not required to provide the financials evidence. The case officer can ask, can you provide the evidence that you have declared in your application form you have a $60,000 in XYZ bank? Can you prove that one? Can you send us the bank statement? Can you send whatever documents you may have? Okay, there you go. That means you have lied. So if you have, what will happen? Obviously, your application will be refused, and also you will be banned for 3 years, or even more in some cases. Okay, so be truthful to your application. Also, there are some questions comes out with, can my uncle and auntie be a sponsor for my study? Uncle and auntie, yes, can be a sponsor for your studies, but they must be Australian permanent resident or the citizen. You may have come across, oh, but some XYZ person has got the visa. Their parent, the uncle auntie was the sponsor. Yes, you can get the visa. There's no doubt about it, because the immigration didn't ask for your financials evidence. Okay, so what you declared, look, I don't know. You declared you have enough money. Immigration case officer, they can see that you are not required to provide the evidence. They say, okay, all good, you got the visa. Okay, that's how it works. But be truthful in your application. That is going to help you. Okay, now how much money are you going to need? There's very simple calculation. Very simple calculation. One thing is living cost. Okay, and then there is a study tuition fee, and the the return airfare. Okay. So the simple way to work without getting into too much complication, the living cost in Australia for migration purpose is $21,000 and $41. So let's say $22,000 in roughly, okay, 22K AUD, Australian dollar. And then you add your 1 year of tuition fee. So let's say if your tuition fee is 25K, so you add 25K with 22K, and then also you add return airfare. On average, let's say $2,000 for return airfare. So roughly about 49K. So 50,000 plus you would need to prove or to show that you have that much money available for your study. If you have paid, let's say, half of the money for one semester, then you can deduct that money from the total amount. Okay. Now, to simplify that, what you do is take the 1 year course fee, add $25,000 in that. If the course fee is 30,000, add 25, $55,000. The course fee is 20,000, add 25, $45,000. That is the minimum amount you must have for your study. Okay. That's the financial part. Now, what I want to go is, I think that everyone interested is what happens after a study. Do I get a PR? Do I get permanent residence? Okay. What happens with after study? You could be eligible for 1.5, which is 1.5 year, up till 4 years of post study or graduate temporary visa, we call it. Okay, subclass 485. So post study visa or graduate visa, we call it. Okay, so if you study vocational course, you could get 1.5 years. If you study a higher degree, which is bachelor, master, you could get a 2 years. If you study PhD, you can get up to 4 years. Okay, so that will basically allows you to stay in Australia and work as much as you want, and that gives you an opportunity to gain experience in your field. You can do professional year. The professional year provider could place you into the company, an organization where you can work, and also you study and learn. And then there are some providers, and they place you in those organizations, and those organizations also might offer you a job in future. They can sponsor you as well, and that basically gives you opportunity to get to the PR path, okay, or permanent residency path. Now that TR, recently there has been changes also, which allows you can have if you have studied in regional area, then you may have opportunity to have a second TR. So if you have studied, you have got 1.5 years, you might get another 1.5 years. So you can get up to 3 years in some places. So you can get to 3 years also. So if you have studied in the regional area. Okay. Now with the PR is it's not as simple as it used to be 10 years ago. It is a little bit difficult now. Okay. So that means you got to have good English, you got to have work experience, obviously your studies and your age. There are many factors that is combined together to make that the point system, basically we call it. And there are different subclass for that. Subclass 189, 190, 491, some are sponsored by the state, some are independent. So it depending upon how many points that you get, you can be eligible for expression of interest. Okay, it is not like if you the minimum requirement, the threshold is only 65 points, but then having 65 points, would you get a PR? The answer is yes or no. Why? Because it only qualifies you to apply for an expression of interest. So that means I have 65 points, or I have 70 points, or I have 90 points, and I want to apply for one of the visa. Okay, 491, 189, 190. So then what happens is, then you get invited. If you have more points, then they pick, the state government, or the federal government, they pick based on the highest point or whatever the cutoff points they might have, and then they give you invitation to apply. So in short, it's a long journey. It's not 1 or 2 years that you become a permanent resident. Okay, you have to allow 2 years of studies. Then you have to allow at least 2 years of your graduate temporary visa. So 4 years. So 2 years to study, 1.5 to 2 years of full-time work, and then in that period of time, you apply for expression of interest. You get an invitation, you apply for PR, and you become a permanent resident in Australia. And one day you become citizen. And as I said, and Prerna said, and everyone is saying, Australia is a beautiful country. It is safe. It's in simple term, what I can say, it's a land of opportunity. You can do what you want to do. You can achieve anything that you can dream of. You can drive any car that you want. This is Australia. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am and sir. It was truly an enriching and empowering session. Sir and ma'am, may I request you to answer a few queries which have been raised by a valued audience. Sir and ma'am, I now invite the moderator, Ma'am Resham, to ask the questions.
Good morning, namaste, Ms. Prerna, Mr. Vijay. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Yeah, same here.
Good to see
It's
you.
morning here. We are in Muscat, Oman.
Oh, good. And good to see a big smile on face.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this presentation was very clear from Ms. Prerna, Mindful Mitra, right, Ms. Prerna?
Yes, sir.
I like that.
Oh, really? Thank you. I hope you research on that after then.
Okay, so still we have a few questions here. So what is the right time to start the GTA process? GTE procedure, yeah.
Okay, so when we speak about the GTE assessment process, so that is something that happens after you lodge your application. So when we are saying preparing for your GTE, you basically mean writing a statement. That's all that you need. That you can do meanwhile you prepare your application for your university. So as you write your SOP, if you write it at the same time, it will also save you a lot of time and headache, because like I said, GTE and SOP are very similar. It's basically the body of SOP, but we'll have to put a lot more details that we are going to address of the migration side. So my suggestion would be to save you a lot of headache, time, and effort. When you're writing your SOP for the university, that would be the right time to think about the migration aspects as well, and then start building on it right away.
Okay, so suppose child is now studying in class 12 and next year for 2022, they want to come to Australia. So this is the right time, you mean to say?
Yeah,
to start the process?
The earlier you start, the more time you have to plan your pathway.
And how much time it takes for that?
Not long at all. So when we write the statement, it's more about what are the circumstances. So I think Vijay will touch on those later, like especially what takes time in student visa is the documentation process, the application and everything. If you've done everything correctly, if your education agent has guided you well, if you've got your financials and all those other main details as mentioned by Vijay, GTE is simply a statement. It's like an essay that you write to prove to the department that, I'm very connected to my family country here. I'm very eager to come and study there. I've done all my research, and then this is what I'm going to do. This is my plan. So basically the department wants to know what is your clear plan, and it wants to know clearly what are you going to do after you take the qualification. And it simply could be 3 pages SOP, 3 pages statement. That's
great.
Let me add a couple of points here that might help prospective students. the GT, as Prerna said, it's about the statement. That's absolutely right. The assessment of a student visa based on GT is quite subjective. Okay, so what I mean by that is the case officer forms their opinion based on what you have written in that 3-4 pages of that statement. Okay, what they're basically looking at is whether the student has done enough research about where they're going to study, what they're going to study, which country they're going to study, why they have chosen that city, why not they have studied back in the home country going to Australia, and what is the future plan. Okay, now the reason they do it is basically is to understand the student has done with their research, they know exactly why they are going. That's all it is. Sometime we have come across is having a well written, very well written GTE still get a visa rejection. Okay, as I said, never be disappointed. Australia is not the end of the world. Okay, this is not the only country. Okay, being rejected on GTE, if you have done everything right, one should not be disappointed. There would be definitely better opportunity, better places for them. That's all. Thank you.
And it's very clear, like many countries I've seen, they are, taking this bond, like after studies, they have to stay back in that country and they have to work there for 10 years. But this is so much clear here, your intention should be like, I'm going there for studies, not for the PR. So this is really very nice. Yeah. And Mr. Vijay, can you share some more light on the vocational courses? What exactly can you like?
Okay, the vocational courses is, in simple term, we can call it a trade course. Okay, the trade course here in Australia starts from certificate courses. So we have certificate 2, 3, certificate 4, certificate. After certificate 4, we go to diploma, then advanced diploma, and then you go to higher study, which is bachelor, and then you go to master, then you go to PhD. That's how that is. So up until diploma and advanced diploma are considered in vocational. Not necessarily that, because diploma and advanced diploma in, let's say, management or business, it also can be offered in a university. So the trade course or vocational courses where they are more hands-on rather than just studying on the books and writing the essays and question answer, not like that. Basically, they are practicing more of that. Okay, so the trade course, which basically there are more in demands most of the time, and it's easy for someone to get PR also. There's no doubt about it. Such as, someone wants to become a chef, someone wants to become a plumber, someone wants to become a motor mechanic, so painter, plumber, electrician. Those are the courses comes under the vocational courses. It's cheaper.
So
cheaper, yeah.
And that will be short duration, 2 years courses. Correct?
It will be normally 2 years.
Yeah.
Course, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Because in order to get to TR, temporary residency, one must study 2 years.
Okay, that's nice. And how about the job opportunities there? It's easy to get jobs in Australia after your studies are over.
I came here 21 years ago. Okay, I came when I was 21. When I completed my degree back in India, I came here. Those time maybe I could say a little bit difficult to get a job because maybe not that many less opportunity, I would say, for the type of job. Today, there are so many jobs. If we ask someone, can you do another job? No, sorry, we are so busy. So work-wise, there is a plenty of work. As long as I said at the very beginning, this is the land of opportunity. You can dream whatever you want and you can achieve here. This, if you really want to do it. Yeah. But you got to have a clear mindset, and you should be willing to work. If you're willing to work, there is a plenty work. There's no, there's no doubt that someone cannot get a job. Exactly. And I can I can say that with the 100% certainty that the students are making more money than the one citizen is making here.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so at last, what will be your advice to our students if who are want to come and study there in Australia? What are the three advices what you can give?
Okay, I think I have clearly mentioned that you got to have your career in your mind, not PR. If you want to become a chef, think about you want to come and study chef. If you want to become an engineer, come and study engineer. Don't go for accounting. If you want to be, you love numbers. If you want to become an accountant, you come and study accountant. Don't go for MBA, just MBA. You know, so that has to be very clear mind that you choose your career, then you think about PR. Because if you have a career, PR you can get it. But if you're thinking only about PR, probably you will end up nowhere.
Oh, yes.
So that's the one, the main advice that I could say. And second advice I would say is be honest in your application. Because if you are not truthful, basically, such as like a financials, providing bogus documents, you are ruining your opportunity to coming to this country. Not only this country, probably New Zealand, Canada, maybe USA, because the country they share the information. You know, if you have done one thing wrong, there is opportunity that you will lose the opportunity. So be truthful with your application. Don't provide bogus document. Don't provide. You know, we hear that. We have seen that people they do fake English or the educational. Don't do that.
Very nice. Thank you so much for your time and your clear picture. Thank you, Ms. Prerna. Thank you, Mr. Vijay. Have a great day.
Thank you very
ahead.
much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It
Bye-bye.
was a great pleasure being with you all.
Thank you.
So that's all for today. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir and ma'am. We are truly grateful for your relevant, valued, and patient answers to all our queries. I'm sure the participants are enlightened and have got a true picture about the prospects available for them at your esteemed organization. Attendees, do remember to fill in the feedback form which has been posted in the chat box. Those who joined through YouTube, please check the description box for the link of the feedback form.
As we have come to the end of this session, I reckon it a privilege to put my gratitude into words. It is my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of Indian School Al-Wadi Al-Kabir, the organizing team, and the entire audience. Let me first express a profound gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq Al Said for the magnanimous benevolence showered on the Indian diaspora in the Sultanate of Oman. May the Almighty shower abundant blessings on His Majesty and this peaceful and prosperous country of our residence. We extend heartfelt thanks to our eminent speaker, Ms. Prerna Mala and Ms. Vijay Kumar from Studyco. Thank you, sir and ma'am. The session was truly informative and enlightening. It opened up new vistas ahead of us. Our deepest sense of appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Shivakumar Manikam, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, and other members of the board and honorary directors of the Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. Thank you, sirs and ma'ams, for your encouraging presence and guidance at all times. Our sincere thanks to Mr. Alkesh Joshi, the Honorary President of the Indian School Wadi Kabir School Management Committee, and the other members of the committee for their overwhelming encouragement and gratitude at all times. I also wish to take this opportunity to express our warm gratitude to our tower of strength and source of motivation, our beloved principal, Mr. D.N. Rao, honorable principals of all the participating schools in the Middle East and North Africa region, vice principals, assistant vice principals, coordinators, supervisors, and the entire teaching community of all the participating schools for their support, guidance, and active involvement.
We are indeed grateful to our platinum sponsor, Studyco, gold sponsors, Jain Group of Institutions, Grey Mat Academics, Velo Institute of Technology, and Sri Ramchandra Institute of Higher Education and Research. Bronze sponsors Middle East College Oman, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Dallas Baptist University, and MIT World Peace University Pune, our digital partner Spectrum, and our media partner, the Arabian Stories, for their support in making this mega event a tangible reality. Thank you, one and all, for your gracious presence here this evening. An event of this kind requires the coordination of a committed team. My earnest and profound thanks to my ISWK team behind the scene, working tirelessly and making Avenir 2021 a tangible reality. I wish to thank each and every student and parent for their valuable presence in making this session of our Global Career Fair, Avenir 2021, a grand event. Last but not the least, I thank Almighty God for making this session a great success. Thank you all. See you soon for the next session. Take care and have a wonderful day ahead.